Hey, with the completion of my powerlifting meet on Saturday, we will do a little video recap on how the event went and what's next. So let's go over the week leading up to the event. It was just opening lifts in the gym with a little bit of accessory work. Um, Going in the last few weeks of prep for the competition, my body was definitely feeling pretty beat up. I was getting a little achiness. I was even mentally starting to feel like, okay, I'm ready for this to be done. I'm kind of over this training cycle. I was feeling strong, but I was not feeling athletic, if that makes any sense. I didn't feel like if I had to like run a mile or two, I felt like I would probably be lumbering and not having it probably wouldn't have felt great. And that's just the nature because of my training up until that point, because I was focusing, just on those three primary lifts, lifting heavy and doing the accessory exercises to support those lifts. So I was really starting to feel a real shift in my both my energy and, like I said, almost like at my athleticism. Because of that, it almost started getting in my head a little bit about second guessing the training. Like, am I going to be ready for this? Am I going to be feeling, because my deadlift felt terrible the last couple of weeks. Like I lowered my opening numbers on the deadlift quite a bit because just everything felt heavy. I was able to make it move, but not fast. The deadlifts weren't moving fast. They were real grinds. And I figured, wow, when I get into competition, I'm going to have to do the deadlift 6 hours into this meet. What am I going to feel like? I better curb my opening lift and be a little more conservative with it. So the last week before the meet, hit my opening numbers. Everything felt good, clean, moving. Kind of felt all my body starting to come around from the tapering of the volume, which is what is supposed to happen. So kept the faith. Shoulders felt great. Hips, knees, ankles, everything started feeling really good. And I could almost feel my energy coming back to the point where, like, I was chomping at the bit to want to lift. I'm still was kind of excited to be ready to change my programming when this concluded, but I was definitely starting to get that energy back, like I'm ready to go. So I'm like, okay, these are all good signs. The taper worked, right? Getting that super compensation from 21 days out, going with my heaviest lifts. Everything is going on track. And so the meet was on Friday, October 18th, 2025. The night before, on the 25th, I drove out to Erie to do my weight check, which I mentioned in previous videos. You could do the weigh-in that morning. I just didn't I wanted one less thing to have to worry about. Plus, I would be driving in to Erie that morning, which is an hour and a half drive, hour 35-minute drive to get in. I definitely wanted to be, I'm going to be up a couple hours before I even leave. So I didn't want to have to worry about not drinking water, not drinking coffee, not being able to eat a breakfast before the meet because I have to make weight. I'd rather make weight the night before, and then I can just have a normal day. Get up, have my coffee, stop for a breakfast sandwich on the way in, drink my electrolytes, my creatine, and that's exactly what I did. So Friday, drove in, um, nice, easy drive. Got there right when we were able to check in. Weighed in at 176.4, which is the lowest I weighed, especially in an evening weight. I figured I'd be about 179. But that day I was just drank a few protein shakes. I didn't eat solid food, put some collagen in my coffee. So I ate kind of light leading up to the weigh-in because I figured as soon as I weigh in, then I'll just stop and I'll have a good sized dinner and no big deal. And that's exactly what I did. Got there, weighed in, came in a little low, no big deal. Stopped at Applebee's and got something to eat right after for the ride home. When I got home, an hour or so later, ate just a little bit more. I didn't want to feel bogged down. I didn't want to wake up feeling full and like I had to go to the bathroom and all that. So everything ran super, super smooth. Also, by going there Friday night for the weigh-in, I kind of got my bearings straight about where the event was being held, which is nice. So that day I kind of know where I'm going. Got to meet the event coordinator, Diane, who is a wonderful woman who ran an amazing event. Met her husband. He was helping with the check-ins. He's the one that weighed me in. I believe it was Diane's sister was also there helping. Got to meet her. It was just a wonderful group of people that put the meet together. The venue was very big. Everything you got in, the people checked in. Everything just ran so smooth, and the event people seemed very relaxed because I think they were just very confident that their event was well organized. You know, you didn't get that sense of like there was any kind of tension about here this time. You know, everything was just smooth, relaxed. I think it definitely made me feel more relaxed. And I think the lifters would probably agree that it was just a very well run, chill event that was very competitor friendly. So then I drove home. Well, first stopped at Applebee's, got something to eat. Wasn't great. Probably should have chose something different to eat. But nonetheless, did the job, got some calories in, got a good night's sleep, got up early the next morning, got up at like 4 a.m, stretched out home because then I remember I was just 3 hours in the car too the night before. So you get a little cramped up in the car from sitting that long. Got loosened up. Same thing, had a cup of coffee with my creatine, started drinking some electrolytes, stopped for a coffee and a sandwich. Everything just rolled real smooth. Me and Jill and I drove down there, checked into the event. It was set up wonderfully. They had 3 warm-up stations for each event. So leading into the squats, which was the first event, they had 3 squat racks. So you didn't have to do a lot of changing of the heights for everyone. It was kind of like a low, medium, tall one. So whichever one worked out for you. And all the competitors, great group of people. Everyone was very chill about sharing the equipment and warming up and letting you work in with them. And again, the event gave you plenty of time to do that. So that wasn't rushed at all. I really just, I can't say enough how well run the event was and how great the competitors even were. Very friendly, met some people there. Shout out John McFeely, super cool dude. Came up to me. I think he's seen one of the videos. He must have looked at the roster, said, "Hey, I saw you online," introduced himself. And we were in the same weight class and in the same flight. So I got to, we got to talk a little bit. Very encouraging. His friends were very encouraging. Every time I go up there to lift, great lift, nice job. How you doing? It was just all that stuff makes it just for a fun day. Generally, when I'm in, for myself, not real extroverted. I don't need a lot of outside stimulus. I kind of just playing everything through in my head, kind of going through my own cues as far as what I need to do. I tried to really relax throughout the day, which might sound a little counterintuitive. I didn't use any music, no headphones. I wasn't trying to get myself amped up. I only had one energy drink for the first 2 lifts. So 2 hours of the squatting and then 2 hours later for the bench press. I was just sipping on one energy drink, didn't even finish it, threw the rest out. And then when it was time to do the deadlifts, I just cracked a Monster, started sipping on that, maybe drank a third of it the most. And then I did end up on the way home because then we had to drive back to Buffalo, which is another hour and a half ride, and I sipped on the rest of it the way there. But I didn't use, there was no smelling salts. I didn't overstimulate myself in between the events. I basically would just kept my body loose, stretched out, laid on the floor, relaxed, kept my eyes closed, just trying to conserve energy. And when it was time to go lift, then I got myself zone in and focus, but it was no crazy getting amped up or anything like that. So for the squats, there were 3 flights. There was a flight of all women that went first. There was a second flight, and then I was in the third flight. So my plan going in for the entire meet, I said, if I can get to, because remember, this is the first meet I did in 11 years. I just wanted to get some numbers on the board, get used to performing for the judges and on a platform and getting used to the protocol. Just get back into the sport a little bit. So I said, if I can get to 950, great. For me, I need a pretty perfect meet to get to 1,000, but I'm not going to try to chase the 1,000 down. Should easily be able to get to, the 950. And then if I fall somewhere in between, great. It'll be a good number to then work off of, maybe for the next meet to then go over 1,000. So I opened with everything was in kilos. So I'll just give you the poundage, the weight in pounds. I opened with 275-pound squat. I admit when they were during the rules meeting, I was a little bit nervous. You just kind of get that edgy, antsy, but I was able to get into the zone. You watched a couple flights. I just went through my mental cues, and bam, the 275 flew up, which it should have. In my prep for the meet, the most I squatted was 295. But my goal was definitely to get over 300. But the 295 went really smooth, felt great, was never in any doubt. I didn't feel like I needed to lift heavier. I figured, we will save it for the competition. I wanted all my training to feel smooth, fast, crisp. So my second lift, I completed the 275. I said, okay, let's go. I think it was maybe 303. Remember, it's in kilograms, but it's just over 300 pounds. I said, let me clear out, get the 300, which I was very confident that I was going to get. And then I'll push for a little more, assuming that it goes well. And it did. Plenty of depth, sprung it up really fast, felt great. So I'm like, okay, let me go. I was thinking, in my head going into the meet, if I get 315, that would be a really great number. Said it just felt so darn good. Let me go 319. I'm really, really confident I can get this. Probably should have went closer to like 330, but I'm ahead of the game already. I got my 300, so I'm in a good spot. If I get 319, that'll even give me a little more to my total than I anticipated. And I got the 319. Again, plenty of depth, went up what I would consider for myself pretty easy. But which is great, because I didn't, in the process of getting that 319, I feel like I could have got more, but I got done with the 319 and I felt really fresh. I've done meets where I've squatted like 375 and my back felt tight, and because it's heavier, obviously my traps are tight. And when I went to go like bench and deadlift, I didn't feel great because the squat took a lot out of me as far as just like the weight compression on my back. So I got the 319 and it felt like, geez, I haven't even done anything yet. I'm going to go into this bench really fresh. So that was probably the trade-off. Go a little bit lighter, but going into the next lift feeling strong, which I did. So we go into the bench press. Now I warm up, up to 215. My opener is going to be 225. And warm-ups are going super smooth, super easy. But again, you get on the bench, it's a different bench, different bar. You want to make sure, I don't know the judges' commands, how long they're going to make you hold at the bottom. And so always better to be conservative, get the 225, flew up, a lot of speed. So, okay, great. My goal was 245. If 245 good, we'll try to get 250. And to me, that would be, the perfect meet for what I set out to do. So my second lift, 245. 245 goes up. It's really nice. So bam, get the 245. Now I got to pick my third lift, and it's either the next one would be 253 or 259. And I'm like, I mean, I should be able to smoke that 253 based on how quick the 245 went. Got to go 259, which again, the most I did in my training leading up to the meet was 250, but I did 250 with a little deficit. So I knew, doing what under normal conditions, it should be a little easier. So I'm going to rely on my training. I'm going to do the 259, and that will even give me a little higher toward my total, which I did. I get the 259. It went well. It was, I had to work for it. I might have had 5 more pounds in me, But again, I got the 259 clean, 3 white lights, and I don't feel like it really taxed me to the point where it will take away from my bench. I didn't have to like over hours, squeeze into my back harder than, anything too unusual, to make the lift. So now I got my first two rounds done. I got my squats done. Which I ended at 319. I got my bench done at 259. And both numbers are a little bit higher than I even anticipated going. So I'm in a really good spot. And now I'm starting to do the math. And my original plan for the deadlift was, well, I was doing 240, pulling 245 in training. But like I said, because it wasn't feeling good the last few weeks, I said I'm going to open at 375, which originally I was going to open at 405, but I scaled back. I said my second lift will be 405, and then I'll pull it like 425, and that'll put me in a good spot. Where originally I was going to do, 405, 425, and then shoot for something like in the 440 to 450 range. But I already had my opening lift in at 375, and it just flew up very, very fast, easy, no real strain on the body. So now I felt like I could go 425 here. I'm very confident that I'll get it, and then I'll have a third lift, and I want to push it. But if I get the 424 and add up my squat and bench, that's going to put me over 1,000 for my total. It puts me at 1,002, which is what I set out to be a perfect meet. So I said, don't get greedy. Let's get the 424. Let's wrap this meet up. Even if it means leaving a little on the table, you got your 1,000-pound total, which was your, what you really wanted. You would have been happy in the mid 900s. Take your 1,000 and then build upon it. Because just because you think you can get, like, I think I could have got 445 or 450. If I didn't, then what? Then I'd have to take the number before. So I figured let's just stick to the plan. So pull the 404, third round, pull the 425, bam, felt great. As soon as I did it, I said I should have lifted more, but that's, they say pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered. So don't be greedy. So it ended with 1,002 total. Real happy with the way it went, and it really did its job. That it built a lot of confidence. That I'm like, okay, we got to do another one. Not this year, probably in spring. I am ready to change my training and do some different style workouts and pursue some new goals in the meantime. So today's Tuesday. The meet was on Saturday. Definitely didn't work out on Sunday. And even yesterday, I felt the soreness. I was still tight. But today, I'm going to shut this video down, and I'm going to break the ice, do some mobility work, and then do some training. Not going to do regular powerlifting training. I'm just going to do some like bro bodybuilder training, just to move some weight, pump the muscles, and start formulating my next plan. I am registered for a 5-mile race on Thanksgiving, and I do plan on doing a 5K race, which is 3.1 miles, in December. So I am going to shift my goals toward the end of the year to try to do some running, which is completely different than powerlifting. So I am debating, I definitely want to do a little bit of a weight cut. Not sure how deep I want to go. I'm thinking, maybe get down to like 173, or possibly push all the way down to 165 by like Christmas. And then if I do the 165 cut, I would say I would probably hold that into the new year and then go back and start looking at powerlifting for 2026, but competing in the 165 weight class. I'd be at the top of the 165. But that I haven't completely decided yet. I know I'm definitely going to do a weight cut. So even if I cut down to like 173, that would probably be, obviously much easier for me. It would be much more probably comfortable. I'd retain a lot of strength, but yet be light enough to improve the running and not have it beat me up. Although 165 would be even better in that sense. But if that's the case, if I hold the 173, then I wouldn't cut below there, and I would hold that weight into next year and again compete in powerlifting in the 181 class. So a couple balls still up in the air, but what I do know is changing gears, running 2 races for sure this year. I'm going to change my training for more running performance, which I'm going to really rely on the weight training for the running performance. I'm not going to do a lot of running. I'll do, some short runs just to get the wheels moving and get my feet and all the joints acclimated to the repetitive motion. But I'm really going to rely on some body comp changes to get myself in a little lighter position, less inflamed, and let that help in moving a lighter body through my running. So I will be starting a new video series. It's going to be called Operation Rerun. I will be posting that. Whatever I decide about weight cuts, style of training, what I'm doing for running, race results, that'll take us up to about the end of this year. And then we'll probably be starting another powerlifting training series. So again, shout out to, thanks Jill. I couldn't have done the meet without her. Besides just the lift off and everything for the bench press, I think it's very important to have somebody to support you throughout the process and just knows what you need and when you need it, and when you need a little support and when you need a little silence, and just to be a good partner and somebody to listen, that will listen to you and can nudge you in the right direction. So that was very important. So thankful for Jill. And again, the Federation, big fan of the 100% Raw Powerlifting Federation. The event coordinators, can't say enough. It was a fantastic meet. I would do their meets again in a heartbeat. Even the judges, got to talk to some of the judges after the meet. They were very supportive, complimentary, encouraging. So that's always, great to hear. And of course, the other competitors that I met there. Again, I don't know all their names, but it was definitely a group of very cool people. And that powerlifting community, it's generally always been that type of person that's supporting, cheering each other on. And there were young kids, there was older people there. It was just fantastic. So, all right, this wraps up this series. Definitely, in my opinion, it was a success. Let's change gears. Let's switch to running and see if we can pull this one off. All right. See you guys on the next series.